stay standing.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting as we stand for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Good evening. This is the first opportunity for citizen comments. If anybody in the audience would like to address the board, they can step up to the podium and do so right now. Okay. No citizens. We will move on to celebrations. Adam.
Good evening, board members. Welcome to the first of two March meetings, and we'll start with celebrations this evening. So, first two will be website stories. First is just something that we self-published in the media. We can't say we went in and did the analysis ourselves, but since somebody did it for us, we relayed it out. So, for the second straight year, the high school's graduation rate, and of course we're talking about last year, right, because that was last year we had the data for, was at 97%, which was the highest in the area, and it's actually the second straight year with a 97% graduation rate. So we didn't go up or down, but a very impressive result. Obviously, that is the ultimate goal of why we're all here, is to graduate our students, and from a comparative lens, we're doing an exceptionally good job with that. The second story that's posted to the website goes back almost a month, but it goes back to our Be Nice event at the high school, the two Be Nice basketball games, the varsity boys and varsity girls held. It was an outstanding event, and for those of you that remember how we started with that initiative, it has come a long way. Just the entire, the display, the information, the unity of purpose, I think, by the people in attendance. I mean, even seeing like the other team's players, making sure they all got the green pens to wear on their warm-ups. I mean, just the whole thing really speaks highly to the organization that went behind that, our Be Nice crew members, their advisors, the athletic department for putting that together, and just a really nice celebration and a lot of attention to detail regarding that. Huge crowd. It was a success. And again, the basketball is a vehicle. The purpose is creating that shared understanding of why student mental health is so important and how we all have a role in supporting that and reducing the stigma around it. Less important news, but I guess also important. We put up a new plaque on the back wall. It's kind of small, but you can see it on your way out next to the football stadium, which is now documenting all the years the high school makes the U.S. News and World Report top high schools list. I just thought it was time to kind of formally recognize that, because we want, like, 1 year we got it, and there was like a 7-year gap, and we won it again, and there was a gap, and then like the last 5-6 years we've earned it every year. This year both Explorer and the middle school also earned it for their respective grade bands. Anyway, it's kind of cool, and you can just pop a little part off and put it up and replace it when you get another one, so that was just nice to document that in the boardroom. And the last two, we don't have a visual guide for them, but I do want to congratulate Dr. Lewis for earning his her finance certification specialty from MASB. For your development as a member of the board. And then another one, which I might get in trouble for saying, but we have a alum who's going to be doing her PhD dissertation defense on Wednesday, and also someone, proud mother of said student, former student, is in the room. So Helen Ruckert's going to be defending her PhD dissertation from Duke on Wednesday, and so just want to congratulate her and Betsy for a very impressive accomplishment. I'll try to tune in at least for a little bit, but I also know I'm not going to understand anything that's going on. So,
I don't know if she's going to speak anything other than scientific.
Yeah, so that could be.
Try and maybe speak a little English.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people who only speak English that will be watching.
So that'll be over my head, but one of my former students, and just a really cool accomplishment. Those are celebrations for this evening, unless there are any questions I can address.
Any questions for Adam? Just circling back to our graduation at 97, that is above the county graduation average. I'm not sure.
It's the highest in the area in terms of total percentage, and well above the county and state average. But we like to win, so we're first.
That's pretty awesome. All right, we do not have an education update. Superintendent's report.
So upcoming items, there is a policy meeting. As far as upcoming meetings, there's a policy meeting tomorrow at 6 right here, and then on the 16th, 2 weeks from today, is our next regular board meeting. Moving on to highlights from professional development on the half day on February 13th. We have another one of those coming up this Friday. Quite extensive, and so I'm not going to, you can read it, but I'll just hit some of the highlights. One of the things you'll notice with PD as we get into the second half of the year where we have the half days is that they're very decentralized and a lot of specialization taking place between departments or grade level teams, even some of the specific trainings focused on paraprofessionals versus art teachers or elective teachers, and so you'll notice that documented throughout the agendas. But a couple of highlights. First one that I thought was really cool is the focus with Little Hornets and Discovery, the kindergarten educators working together on the TLT, which is Teachers Learning Together. It's this kind of focus on focusing on best practice and things that work in the classrooms, and talking about how those effective strategies can then be shared across multiple teachers so they can be implemented to scale. And Discovery spent a good portion of their PD working with those two groups, kind of creating some cohesion between our preschool and our kindergarten classrooms. At Explore, they continue to focus on the new math curriculum, and you'll see that was kind of the primary effort there for classroom teachers. The middle school, because that building is so progressive and is so far ahead of the curve, one of the things that they're have the luxury of doing is continually cycling back to some of the basic structures that are so important that we don't let them go. And one of the most important structures we have from an instructional standpoint is student engagement. And so the middle school really went kind of back to the basics and revisited effective instructional strategies that promote student engagement, which just doesn't happen by accident. It has to be planned for and implemented to make sure that you don't have passive learners in your classroom. And so I remember being a part of the pilot team for that initiative way back a long time ago, and it's cool to see how that building has maintained that as part of their culture and circles back with their professional development to ensure that that continues. The high school continued with their staff book study on social-emotional learning. And I do want to highlight, and you can see it kind of interspersed throughout all the building agendas, but again, and we've talked about this before, but the focus on professional development for paraprofessionals and how that's intentionally built into the planning for each of the buildings. That was not done by accident. That was part of our plan for this year and future years to ensure that we're bringing our paraprofessionals along and ensuring they get the professional development they need to be successful. And they've, I think, been appreciative of that and been active participants. So that's been a good change for this year. And then finally, moving on to bond updates. The softball facility that you might have seen as you came in today, floors are going in this week, so that's good. Painting, both interior and exterior, has been kind of subject to the weather. I think it needs to be consistently above 40 degrees for the paint to hold, so maybe this week we'll be able to move forward with painting. They've tried it a couple days and then it got colder or the painter wasn't available, so hopefully some progress this week on that. And the construction zone is going to be, at least the plan at this point, is to modify the construction zone slightly starting next week, so the team, when weather permits, will have access to the field, but then keeping them away from the buildings as they kind of get finished up with some, like I said, painting and some different exterior pieces. But it's getting there. We're also going to need to put in the walking path, and then they're going to be putting like hay down to cover the grass as that gets put in, so that'll grow over the spring. But the field should be accessible to the teams next week to get started with practice. Moving over to Explore, as I think you've all probably seen, the construction fencing is up. We are waiting on one final permit that we don't necessarily need to get started, but it makes the process a lot easier if we do have it in terms of what comes first, second, and third in the sequence. And so hopefully that'll show up here in the next week or so, and then we can continue with the project as planned. If it doesn't, there's plan B and plan C that allow us to get started, but it's more efficient to go with plan A. That makes sense. And then the groundbreaking ceremony, as all the board members have been invited to, is May 4th at 2:30. It's going to be out in the playground area behind the building, and more information to follow on that. But we got a pretty good plan in place, and I think it'll be a nice but very short ceremony to commemorate the beginning of the construction. And then lastly, with bond items, the elementary renovations, now that we kind of have the plan in place for all the summer projects that'll be going on, we're starting to pivot to the following summer. We have a basic floor plan in place now for the circle at the elementary campus. And actually, one of our elementary principals has come up with the theme to rebrand the circle, because we keep running into this problem, right? Like the circle, well, it doesn't really, like, what is that, right? And then, well, we can't call it Explorer Elementary anymore because it's not going to be Explorer Elementary. So the name I think we've settled on is calling it the Hive. And it also gives the designers kind of something to work with, because one of the things we don't want to do, and we'll see how it turns out, but like we don't want it to look the same, right? It's still going to be a circle, but we want it to like look different and improve. What's that?
Bus loop?
Well, you could still have a circle in the bus loop, but so it's going to be, so we kind of gave them the concept, and now we're going to let them come up with like what the design for the Hive will be, and it'll also make it easier to plan because we'll actually all be referring to the same thing. Because right now it's a little confusing. Like, which Explorer Elementary are you talking about? And then lastly, we had a consultant come in last week or the week before to look at the elementary cafeteria in action, like in the middle of the day when all the kids are going there, and that helped get some eyes on, and then assist in developing the plan for the renovations that'll take place there. So we are now fully engaged in planning for a year and a half out as far as the next phase of bond projects, while the projects that you're all familiar with are either happening or in the process of starting here over the next couple months. So that concludes the update for this evening. Any questions that I could address?
Okay, no questions. Chris, you're up for Finance Committee update.
Well, we had a busy finance meeting on February 23rd. A number of the items that are on there are on our agenda today for updates. But we talked about our budget amendment, we talked about the update on the bonds themselves and the sinking fund, all of which, you know, were very good conversations. Rec millage update, we talked about that. MI class as well, things are looking good with that. The bond, we talked through all of the different projects that we have coming up and where we are right now with bids and the finances of that, and kind of the long-term finance of looking at where we stand. We also talked about our bus, kind of where we are with our buses right now, and looking at our entire inventory to try to get a better sense of what what we may need to reinvest in within the next year, 2 years, 3 years, and beyond. So we did talk about that. We did look at the organizational chart, and that is on the agenda, I believe, today as well. We looked at tuition rates, which I think we're talking about today, and we also talked about renewable energy, which has been a topic we've talked about at the board table in the past on whether or not we would want to move forward. Our committee did recommend to move forward to try to get more information about what that would look like, and get and to be able to work with a vendor that would be able to tell us what it would take for us to be more sustainable in that regard.
I can add to that. So we have moved forward with that as the committee recommended, and the cost is very reasonable and well below the bidding threshold to bring in the consultants. Very reasonable price for the work. So we are moving forward with that. One of the leads from the organization we're working with actually flew out here today. We were able to meet with Sarah Tynan and I for a little bit, and we did a tour of the district, and so we're kind of putting together the next steps in terms of what that'll look like. But we're looking at just a variety of different options and trying to kind of build a playbook with options in terms of what types of future endeavors might we pursue to see a cost savings with energy, and start to put in some renewable energy infrastructure, as well as potentially even adding to some of our facilities, using some of those bonds and other resources that are out there to enhance what we already have. So a lot of options, but the point of bringing in the consultant is to kind of give us a holistic view and to assist us in kind of determining what our best options might be moving forward, and then obviously all of that would come back to the board if in fact we end up recommending any of those options. But we are on the path now for this with professional assistance, and it'll be interesting to see how this works out with their guidance and expertise helping us out.
And to be clear, this is consulting only. This is not
Correct.
a company that does energy research, anything like that. So this is just come out. These are some ideas, some options for you, and then we can go out and reach out to further companies if we wanted to. Any questions, Chris or Adam?
And we haven't done a kind of audit like that before, have we?
Not focusing specifically on renewable energy. Now, one of the interesting things they'll do, one of the, I think the useful efficiencies, is they're gonna take the most recent facilities assessment we did just before the bond to kind of see what the status of all our facilities were. So they're gonna take that and integrate it into their work, so like it kind of assist in the process. But they're also going back and looking at like 24 to 36 months of all our like energy bills, so gas, electricity. I think they're even looking at like every 15 minutes in terms of like duration. I mean, so they're really going to get into a level that we would never have been able to do. Plus, they actually know what to do with the data, which we wouldn't have known either. So I think that'll be beneficial. So it's going to be just interesting to see what they come back with as far as how we can improve and what the path forward is for the district in this area.
Did you have anything to add, sir? No. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
One thing that I didn't mention on the sinking fund update, we did talk about when the next sinking fund election will be, and when we might want to target to have that on the ballot. It is during the 2028 year, so it is an election year, a bigger election year. So we're looking at that and trying to determine the best course of action, but we talked through some of that and started having some preliminary conversations based on that. Based on the data that we got from the county and looking at when elections might be and so on and so forth.
That's shocking to believe it's up already.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. All right, thank you, Chris. If you have any questions, reach out to Chris or Adam or even Sarah to get those questions answered. Up next, we have Rebecca Olson, Director of Early Childhood Programs, to talk about Kids Corner Little Hornets proposed rates for 2026-2027.
Hello all. I want to say congratulations, Sarah. This is the first time I've been to the board meeting since you assumed that position, so congratulations. I'm here tonight to talk about Kids Corner and Little Hornet program tuition rate, a proposed tuition rate increase. I want to just preface it by reiterating the types of programs that we have. So we have three different programs, three distinct programs underneath my umbrella. The first is Kids Camp, and that is our summer preschool through 5th grade camp program. It is run or operated solely on tuition. We do not get any state funding or federal funding for the Kids Camp program. The second is our Kids Corner, which is our before and after school programming for our elementary kids. And again, that is operational costs covered solely by tuition. We do have our Little Hornets preschool, and that is two different funding sources. So our full day 4-year-old preschool program is our Great Start Readiness program, and that is all state funded. And we've done an extensive amount of expansion to service families of those 4-year-olds. And so this year we were able to service 68 families for free. That's free preschool tuition, saving them about $10,000 to $12,000 for the school year. So that was pretty significant. The other part of our Little Hornets is our half-day tuition-based programming. So that is any family of a 4-year-old who is choosing not to engage in a Great Start Readiness grant and choosing to remain in a half-day program, or our 3-year-olds. So this rate increase would just impact our tuition programming. You have seen, I've been here before, and over the past, from 23 school year to the 26-27, we have had different tuition rate increases, and we see them listed. Last year, we did not engage in a tuition rate increase. Sarah and I worked really diligently to try and eke out every single drop of funds that we could, do some capital outlay projects, and really evaluate our spending. We're finding that due to personnel costs, which you see in the first bullet, minimum wage continues to keep increasing, and our personnel costs are going up. Not all of my staff are at minimum wage, obviously, but because of that, we're having to do that vertical alignment across the board and really provide them a living wage. So this rate increase is directly tied to personnel costs. A couple of the other things that we have done is we really looked at what was that break-even point based on the amount that staffing costs were going to increase, and it was about 8%. 8% was going to be that break-even cost, barring any other contingencies, any furniture, any increases in food costs, or any other extraneous costs. So we are proposing that 10% rate increase just to have that little bit of a cushion, so that maybe next year we can maybe not come back with such a high tuition rate increase. We do not anticipate any changes to the sibling discount rate that we implemented several years ago. We are still one of the most competitive in the area for that sibling discount rate, nor is there going to be any changes to our registration fees. We're able to be really efficient with those, so we don't anticipate any increasing costs there. We've established 3 different charts for the 3 different programs, the Kids Corner, the Kids Camp, and the Little Hornet Preschool, to demonstrate what our current rate is, what our proposed rate is. We're right in that middle ground. There's so many little nuances with tuition rates across various programs, with operating times and dates and things of that nature, but we did the best that we could to showcase that we're still right in that middle ground. Even with an increase, and then we did try and show you what that cost for the family per year was going to be. So I am proposing that 10% increase in those tuition rates. They will we'll start to advertise just right now, communicate that family of a potential rate increase, and then upon board approval, we would really communicate the exact rates to families, and that would be in advance of any registration for the 26 summer camp session, and then for the next school year. Any questions or clarifications that I can provide, or that Sarah and I can provide together?
Do we anticipate other districts also raising rates?
You know what, I think everybody is doing about the same thing. And so there's very few that have published their 26, 27 rates right now. So I would anticipate that everybody is doing the same thing because they're in the same personnel costs.
Go ahead, Nancy.
So, this is just me being curious. So when we have kids sign up for camps, like during the summer, do they sign, I don't have kids, but if I did, could I just sign my kid up for like 1 week? Like, oh, this is a fishing, like that's what you're doing for the week. So I could sign up for that 1 week, or I could sign up for the whole summer.
Yeah, you'll want to come to our blueprint builders. That's all going to be about construction.
The week here and the 3 days there.
Yes. So we did move to a 3-day or a 5-day enrollment model. And that is for consistency. That's to really enhance the camp experience. And so parents can sign up for 1 week, or they can sign up for the entire summer. They can sign up for a 3-day 1 week and a 5-day the last week of summer. I do think it's wonderful for families to go and explore a lot of the camps. There are really great camp options around in our area.
So this is just because I'm curious. So because I know what it's like to have to get your Little Hornet spot. So when you open up camp, do you go online and it's like,
First come, first serve?
yeah,
what-
like is that,
Did
so
you get your
you have to
refreshing
be
your
there
morning?
I walk
at
mine
noon?
down to the office.
But I mean, do you do, I mean, is
We
it
do
online?
a
Is it
phased, we
called?
do a phased enrollment process, and so those families who have been with us all year in the Kids Corner program or the Kids Camp last year do have a priority a week in advance of going out to the general public. Because we do have many, many families that come to us throughout the year and then stay with us throughout the summer. We do have some families who come to us each summer because the kids just love it. You know, we're full all summer,
time, yeah.
every single week. We're continually looking for expansion, but we're also trying to balance that with space and staffing.
So that moves me into my next question. Will, and this could be maybe even more for Adam, with our expansion, will that give you more space to expand some programs?
I really don't want to speak to that. I think that is the general idea or consensus, that there will be opening spaces, but none of those decisions have been really finalized, so.
And that's the intent, to be able to take that entire wing and convert it into early childhood and then after school, before school, and summer programs. So there'll be an extensive amount of space. There'll still be constraints with staffing, you know,
Right.
so,
Oh, yeah.
so I mean, there's a lot of variables, but as far as just pure space, yes, once the projects are completed in a couple of years, there will be opportunity to
Hopefully.
potentially expand.
And what about how often are people able to get in once they're on a wait list?
So, what we see with our, specifically with our summer camp, is that we have to do marketing and registration much earlier than people are ready to plan their summers, right? So we fill up very, very quickly in the beginning, because somebody might say, I want 7 weeks, all 5 days, and then as they start to say, oh, I can take this time off, or grandma and grandpa want the kiddos, then enrollment starts to shift and we can get more families in.
that way?
Especially those families who may want just a week here or there, or they might be on a waiting list for Camp Hawaii, and all of a sudden they get in. And so, we allow that flexibility and consistently look through our waiting list. We actually over-enroll a little bit because we know there'll be some.
There'd be some spots.
Yeah.
Okay, then switching to Little Hornets preschool. So
Mhm.
if you had a student who registered for the Little Hornets tuition-based preschool, but really would qualify for oh my God.
A Great Start Readiness
Yeah.
program.
Holy
Mhm.
cow. Am I having a stroke or what? How, is there a way that they somehow get flagged and you know that, and you can have that conversation with that family?
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, so all of Ingham County participates in a common application program through the Ingham Intermediate School District. And so when we're communicating with families and doing our initial marketing, we're really asking them to complete that common application. And that common application will come back and say, okay, are they age eligible for a Great Start Readiness grant? And then it'll say it right in the application. And so within our office, we are really diligently watching anybody who calls in, anyone who comes and does a tour with the director, and anyone who does an application, and really taking and having those conversations with every single family who's eligible for a Great Start Readiness grant, and saying, this is a wonderful opportunity. So those families who have declined a grant are usually ones who want a half-day enrollment, and the grant is intended for a full day. So we really try and just have personal conversations with them and see if we can work out maybe an attendance schedule that will meet their family needs, and do that award that grant.
Nice.
Any other questions for Rebecca? I just want to thank you for the breakdown of everything, because I think when we hear increase in 10%, we think, wow, that's a big impact. but I like the breakdown of actually seeing the dollar amount of what that 10% is in each category. I think is really helpful, and not only for us as board members to make decisions, but as families to have this, to be like, okay, this is really what that 10% and how it affects me personally, I think is really valuable. So thank you so much for the organizing of this.
Sarah
it?
is a godsend. We're a good team.
I was at an MASB event this past week, and I sit on one of their committees, and it's from people from all over the state. And so not necessarily, I'm the only one from our county. Well, that's not true. There's one other person, the chair. But they're all, I mean, this came up and everybody's raising rents. And so ours are very, I mean, they're talking about like 25, 30, like one group said that they might have to raise like 40%. Like they're really, so this is not like,
Yes.
when we're talking about raising rents are pretty good. So I'm pretty sure everyone will.
All right, if you have questions, like Rebecca said, if this passes, then this will start to implement for summer camp, this summer of 2026, and rates for the fall will go into effect this coming fall. So if you have questions, get a hold of Rebecca, Adam, or Sarah.
Okay.
All right.
And I look forward to coming back in June when I can talk about the educational update, which is a much more fun update.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Rebecca.
All right, James Doyen, Director of Technology, to talk about the cabling bid recommendation.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to everyone. I'll go ahead and just test to make sure my clicker is working here. So if not, I might have to ask Dave to help me. Okay, cool. We're in business. So let me go back to where I was. Oh, shoot, now of course I'm,
Dave, you gotta hit the back button.
would you mind? Oh, here
No,
we
he's
go.
got it, he's got it.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
You are the Director of Technology, so.
Yeah, the clicker, using a clicker is the hardest part of technology, so it's, yeah, it somehow jumped down
It's
quite
like
a
the
few
old
slides.
days where you had the antenna. For, you probably did not. You guys
Okay.
are too young. Some of us
Trying to
maybe.
figure it out, yeah.
Okay,
With the aluminum
we're back at
foil.
the start here, so let me go ahead and pull up my notes. So more or less, here tonight to recommend that we replace the legacy structured cabling for Discovery and Explorer Elementary School. So right now, both buildings have, they have Cat 5 and Cat 3 structured cabling. And I'll start by taking a look at the bond timeline here. So you can see, for the most part, as far as technology is concerned, there's just that line item at the bottom there. That's for the phones, and then we're also coinciding the structured cabling with the phones for summer of '26. Let's see if I can, there we go, laser's working. Let's see here. Okay. And then this is the technology upgrades roadmap. So this was more or less a way for me to organize other technology upgrades that would coincide with the bond work, but they were not included in the bond. It was just more or less to have everything organized. So if you'll notice the structured cabling work, this is the one that was passed last year for the high school and the middle school. AMCOM is currently working on that, and then it's set to finish this summer for the upcoming school year. And then this is the recommendation that I'm speaking with you all about tonight, these two here. So this is for, actually this is to remove the structured cabling for the middle school and the high school. So we didn't want to do that last school year just because we want to make sure we have everything working, obviously. But then we'll have the liberty to go ahead and just get everything out of there this summer for all the buildings. So that's where we're at in the upgrades roadmap. I do actually have another presentation here just after this one that you'll notice is right here. So a little foreshadowing there. Let's see if I can go ahead and go to the next one. Okay, so here I have a recommendation. This is the formal recommendation. We hired a consultant to go through and really document everything as far as exactly where all the jacks are, all the network switches, coordinating the bidding process with all the various vendors, In Michigan, we had a number of competitive offers. If you see there, there's a table that has all of the different offers that we received. It was quite a few. And the most competitive offer that we received was from SSD Cabling Cameras. It's a kind of a newer player in the cabling game. They're out of Howell. However, they do actually have quite a few references. I'll go ahead and go forward a little bit to those. It's included in there. Here we go, right here. Yeah, so this is their references. So you can see they have, and I did actually reach out to all of these individuals that were included. So Chelsea Public Schools, Highland Township, and then Graycon Services, which is a managed service provider for IT out of Okemos. So, and then there's a number there at the bottom. There's got to be at least, 15 or so different school districts all throughout Michigan, and then also some smaller businesses, and even some franchises for, I think there's like a Big B on there. Yeah, see that at the bottom. So the total dollar amount on SSD Cabling's offer was for $208,577. That amount is eligible for E-rate grant funding. So this project coincided with an E-rate grant, so we can take advantage of the federal program that allow us to get money back for building internal cabling and just network in general. So we'll be able to get up to approximately the $121,000, which should be about 60% of the total dollar amount. And that was actually one of the reasons why, too, we split up this project between the 2 summers was, so last school year we had a little bit of money left in our E-rate grant for the last funding cycle. And so we wanted to use the remainder of that, and then this year it actually refreshed, and we were able to tap into a whole new pool of E-rate grant funds. So we did it in a way that allowed us to maximize the potential for being reimbursed from that program. So to just really talk about high level, the important thing about this is going to increase the bandwidth that our network supports. So for newer cameras, the main driving factor was for the phone system and phones replacement that we're planning to do this summer. And more or less just setting us up for the long term for technology. And so stuff that's in there now, it's 20 years old. It's not slow to the point where it's a problem, but if we give it another 5 to 10 years, it very well could be a problem. And so this is something that it makes sense to do now. So, yep.
So does it typically last that long? So when we replace all these, will we get another 20, 30 years out of them?
So with structured cabling, it pretty much lasts forever. The thing is, what happens is it becomes obsolete. So you'll want to replace it before it actually fails. And that's really where we're at now, is we don't have to replace it. And honestly, we've really stretched it for as long as we possibly could before we replace it, just because it is so expensive. I mean, we're talking like $500,000 between all the buildings. So it's something that we weren't eager to do, but we have the phones that we need to support. We have modern data rates with IP cameras, access points, with all the classrooms having Chromebooks for the most part throughout the district. So really, we're at the point now where we really do need to invest in increasing the speed of our network and setting it up for long-term sustainability.
Okay, so I know nothing, I mean, some of the stuff you're talking to me about is very foreign, but is this something where we would get a little thicker bands from where, like, 5 years from now when we have robots, like,
right, exactly.
something
Can we
that
like
they'll be able
invest
to
in
support
something that's
that?
better?
Yeah.
Well, that's great that you brought that up. So we are actually doing Cat 6A for the access points, which can do 10 gig. It can do it for a longer distance than Cat 6 can. So we're already thinking ahead. We're already making sure that we'll have 10 gig in between. We're switching the fiber between each cabinet so it can support 10 gig. And then the access points will be able to do 10 gig. And then the desktops, pretty much all of them, there's 95+% of them will also be able to do 10 gig, because we're going to do Cat 6 for the regular desktops, and that's 10 gig up to about 128-ish feet, somewhere around there. It's which Ethernet cables can go up to about 300 or so. So it's about half the length of, but most of our rooms are within the distance. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, we're making sure that we're not just getting by for now. We're going to be set up for long term.
For whatever else we have.
Yes, exactly.
Did you get all that?
So,
Yes.
Okay.
I'd also just
Yeah.
remind the board, like, this was all part of the plan coming out of the bond, where the infrastructure, the support, some of these tech upgrades was not included in the bond. So you have, like, for example, the phone system, which is kind of driving this, was included, but the infrastructure to support the phone system and making sure that's consistent across all the buildings, plus the new one, this is what needed to be done. And so this is also why the sinking fund is pretty much tapped out for its current iteration, because the money's going into this to complement the bond work that's being done. So the whole district's running on a common cabling system and a common phone system, most importantly.
Well, I do appreciate you planning it out instead of like, oh, our computers went down and we don't have money for that, so I
Of
appreciate
course.
that.
Definitely. So, awesome. So I'll go ahead, and is it okay if I move on to the next one here?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So it looks like I don't want to speak too soon, actually. Okay. So, actually, can we switch over to the
Yes.
presentation, please? Thank you. Yeah, I just went into the quote. This is for the next item here. Okay. So, go ahead and switch my notes over. I have a lot of slides, but I'm gonna try to go fast here. So more or less, this one is actually exciting. So the last thing was cabling. This is exciting. This is in the classroom, right? So we're not dealing with just stuff in the walls that nobody sees or anything like that. So, so we're talking about the secondary interactive classrooms upgrade. Okay. So go ahead and go through here. You guys have already seen the timeline. Just wanted to be thorough. I made sure to include it. So a little bit of a timeline on our classroom technology. So sort of the thing that was around when I was a kid with smart boards, just like the old school whiteboard with the projector aiming on it, and then you have the different markers, pens, whatever you can write. That was sort of there still are remnants of that throughout the district, mainly the lower elementary, just because the lowers, they just need that body language in front of classroom, that sort of thing. So sometime around 2015, we actually started to roll out a different setup, which was using iPads in Doceri to essentially allow the teacher to use an iPad to remote control their desktop from anywhere in the classroom. And that worked pretty well. Unfortunately, though, it was discontinued a few years ago, and we were able to use it past, so when it got discontinued, we were already looking for other things, and we'd already been kind of on this process, but that really accelerated it. So, and it actually worked up until sometime I want to say it was maybe about a month ago, it actually stopped working. And then the latest and greatest iteration of interactive technology is, which I'll go into more detail, is the Microsoft Surface Pro with a screen beam wireless receiver for the projector. And that's what we started piloting, and I'll go more into it. We started piloting that last school year, and we've gradually grown it out. So I'll go through that here. Okay, so this is sort of the before. This is just a regular smart board. You can see the teacher setup here on the right. Notice the 2 monitors, document camera, that sort of thing. So this is sort of the original interactive technology. We still have these mainly at the lower. And then this is the new pilot setup that we've started to roll out at the secondary level. And you'll notice here, this is the Surface Pro, and it's hooked up to a docking station. So the teacher can pick this up and go portable and annotate anywhere in the classroom. And then when they're done moving around, they can just plug it into this. It's a single cable, they plug it in, and it's just like their desktop. So essentially, it replaces the need for 3 devices. It replaces the need for a desktop, the need for an iPad, and then a lot of teachers have Chromebooks as well. So this sort of consolidates all 3, and that'll help us offset the additional cost of having a more expensive device by eliminating the cost of other devices. So it's basically a trade-off. It's not significantly more expensive to go with this setup compared to what we had before.
Could we even get rid of the desktop and just have?
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's what we're planning. So we'll get rid of the desktop, we'll get rid of the iPad, we'll get rid of the Chromebook, and then this will just be the primary device. And the thing that's nice about that is that there isn't as much latency. So when you're using a Doceri program to remote control a desktop, there's a little bit of lag there because it's not, whereas with this, it's like you're writing on the actual device that you're using in the classroom. And so it's very seamless compared to what teachers have used before. This is just a picture of me standing there, just writing on the Surface. And I actually have one here I want to show you all. So I'll try to move quickly here. Oh, I grabbed a random teacher at the middle school. I was like, hey, can you please help me? So appreciate it. Yeah, just on the fly. So, yeah.
So will the smart boards come off the wall and these are
Yes.
like projector screens?
Exactly, yeah. So we won't need the smart boards anymore. So the problem with the smart boards is they're a 4:3 aspect ratio, and this is 16:9. So it's like trying to fit a rectangle into a square, and then you get those black boxes around the outside, and it doesn't work. So that's why we needed to replace the smart boards for a more rectangular surface to project on.
So is there anyone like buying up the smart board? Like, is there schools that might want to use those somewhere else, or
The ones-
so antiquated.
The ones
Yeah,
that we
like
have,
we
yeah,
can
nobody, yeah, they're junk.
no one's
They
gonna-
don't have any life left in them, and really, for the most part, they've turned into glorified projector screens at this point. So, just because they're so old and unreliable, a lot of teachers don't even bother. But some of them are still working, believe it or not. And we do as much as we can for the teachers that really need them. We do as much as we can to make sure they're working.
They
So
keep working, but
it's been a battle for the last, since I started working here.
yeah, I'm sure they've been there a long time.
So just some key benefits here, obviously portability. The teacher can go around the classroom, hand the device to a student, they can solve a math problem. Interactivity, so you can write on it it has palm rejection, it's got the best in class stylus. And then obviously I touched on the consolidating devices, so we can go ahead, and that's really a nice thing for the technology team because we have fewer devices to manage. So as opposed to having to do 3 per staff member, now it's just 1. And so it really, streamlines and optimizes our workflows as far as that's concerned. And then I'll go ahead and touch on our piloting process. So at the start of last school year, I made it a mission to work with the high school tech coach, Sarah Conklin, to figure out, what's the best classroom setup that we can afford, right? I mean, obviously, if we had a gazillion dollars, we could do crazy stuff, but what's a reasonable thing? What's the best setup that we can do? So we tried a bunch of different things. We tried Splashtop, which was basically a 1-to-1 replacement for Doceri. Didn't really work too well. Just a regular touchscreen monitor, one without a stylus and whatnot. It's like, okay, this doesn't work. We need to have something with a stylus. So, and those were way more expensive. So it's like, okay, let's try that instead. Problem with that is now you're still kind of stuck at the front of the classroom. You can't move around. So then eventually we got the Surface Pro, and Sarah actually, I'm giving her credit, she discovered this annotate.net resource, and it's been phenomenal. So it allows teachers to not only annotate, but then save their annotations, which is like a game changer. Doceri couldn't do that. And so she's like, oh my gosh, this is like the best thing. So go ahead and go forward here. So this is just sort of what won out of trying a bunch of different things. This is just the receiver. You just hook it up to the projector. It uses Miracast. So yeah, started with Sarah, and then got in touch with the middle school tech coach, got her interested, got her set up with a pilot, and then we actually, so both at the high school and the middle school last school year, at a staff meeting, I did a presentation with the tech coach from either school to the teachers and said, hey, look, check this out. This is a pilot. What do you think? Get feedback, try it, that sort of thing. And they were ecstatic. They're like, yes, I need this. This is awesome. And I have some survey that I sent out actually following up on the staff meeting. So I'll just kind of go through these quickly here. So first question, am I happy? Sort of a, not too strong in either direction, a lot of neutral. I think I skipped a few. Okay, yeah, this is happy, and then the next one is, I feel that my existing classroom technology is a bit dated, so pretty much everyone's like, yeah, it's older stuff, and, you know, they'd like to see something new. And then I just specifically asked, like, hey, would you like to have this setup, the setup that I just demonstrated? And so overwhelmingly yes, or strongly yes. And then I gave them the opportunity to say, hey, you know, I don't really like this, I want something else. And for the most part, I mean, there was maybe one or two people that felt strongly that, hey, you know, I'd like to still have my smartboard or whatnot. And unfortunately, that's just kind of the way these things go. Is, you know, it's like you can't make everybody happy. But this shows you that this was actually a fair survey, right? It wasn't like, oh yeah, everything's perfect. So there were a few holdouts, but I remind those people, we're going to support you, and you know, we'll do what we can to make sure everyone is properly equipped to use the new stuff. These are some of the comments that were left. I'll just give you a moment to kind of read through those, so you can just see it's just overwhelmingly positive feedback. And again, this was last school year following the demonstration. So then this school year, and starting over the summer actually, we started to expand the pilot outwards, get more people involved, so other departments. So it's not just, you know, the math department has one and they can kind of play around with it. Like, you know, we got to get English involved and whatnot. So we did start expanding it outwards. And so now, today, we actually have 13 classrooms, and we have about 110, 120-ish classrooms, depending on, some of them are kind of a weirder arrangement, but so we're about 10%, a little over 10% of our classrooms throughout the district have this pilot set up. And so far, the only major concern that's come up is battery life. So, you know, everything has a limit to how much you can use it in portable mode. We do use a lot of powerful software on our devices, so that is something that teachers will have to be strategic with. It's not like they can just pick up the device and just use it all day, and it's just, you know, they don't need to plug it in. It's like they need to be portable for a little bit during the hour. Okay, now we're done being portable, plug it back in. They can't just kind of stay and float around and whatnot all hour. And so the bottom part here, so I actually sent out another survey last month specifically to the people who were included in the pilot process. And so this survey, these results are from the people the teachers who had these setups. You see, very happy. And yeah, so nobody's unhappy so far. And you know, we did have 11 responses, so there were a few that didn't respond. Those are mainly newer setups. Let's see here. Oh. Functionality score. So gave them an opportunity to say, hey, this thing doesn't work very well, and it seems like it works very well. Asked them if the ability to be portable is, you know, increases their ability to engage with students during instruction. Overwhelmingly, yes. Asked them a question about battery life to see sort of what's everyone getting as far as being portable throughout the day. And this one was kind of all over the board. I think that some teachers maybe are a little bit more portable throughout the day than others, and so they might maybe not be getting as much time. The other thing is, I think some people may, like, especially for the ones that say 6 hours, like, I'm wondering if they interpret this question as like they were able to use it all 6 hours, but not for like the full 6 hour period.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't know. I don't think you could be portable for 6 hours on this thing. So I think it's just your mileage may vary. But you know, as long as you're strategic with when they use it during each hour. And then I asked them, you know, do you think other teachers would benefit? And everyone said, yeah. And then here's some comments. So if you look down here, you know, I've not had battery issues, portable. So, you know, some teachers, they like to have a lot of tabs open in Chrome. If you have a ton of things open all day, that can really hinder performance. So it's just reminding teachers to be a little bit more strategic, mindful with minimizing the extra stuff they have running. But yeah, very well received. And then of course had to get the feedback from the principals. So Dr. Delp and Mrs. LaFleur were both very supportive of this.
How long does it take when, like if someone is using it for 45 minutes and
Mhm.
plugs it back in, how long does it take to charge that battery again? I mean, is it kind of a quick charge? Like, would
Yeah.
it charge in 15 minutes for them to use it enough for the next class period, or do they really need to?
Yeah, I haven't timed it, but I haven't heard somebody say, like, it's just, I just can't ever unplug this thing because it's just, it needs to constantly be plugged in.
So-
I think it's, I mean, I'd have to time it. I don't want to give you, bad
Right, I just
information.
wondered if, I mean, so it's
Yeah.
just really them getting, like, you gotta plug it back in.
Exactly,
leave it on
like
your
make sure
desk.
you don't just leave it unplugged if you're not portable, so. And I'm gonna go ahead and actually get signed in here, I wanna show you all this.
Very cool. Could this just project on a wall?
Yeah, so essentially, that's how it works in the classroom. So I'm gonna show you how you can annotate on it, but just know that when the teachers are using it, it goes straight to the projector. So you'll see everything that is on the screen goes to the
Goes there?
projector in the
Nice.
classroom. So, of course, the hard part is just entering my password here.
So Adam.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, so you'll see it's just, very much just a laptop. It's got a little kickstand on the back. Keyboard, this detaches. And so I'll go ahead and go in portable mode with it now. So go ahead and just stick it down. Move the keyboard here. I'm always extra gentle with it because I don't want to be the one to break stuff. And this just goes ahead and goes in. And then go ahead and take the pen here. And we'll pull up the resource. And I'll pass this around. I'll show you.
Don't ask any math questions though.
Okay, you don't want to put you on the spot. Prompt math quiz. It's funny you mention that because I actually did bookmark a worksheet, math worksheet, but there's also a whiteboard.
It's like,
You can just kind of
let's
scribble.
do
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so I'll go ahead and I'll just show you. I can just, you can write and then there's an eraser here. So you just, teacher can just annotate. And again, this would all mirror to the.
Whatever's on the board.
Yes, exactly.
Cool.
So, and I'll pass around for everybody to try it out. So there's.
What is
And
this?
it has palm projection too, so you can see the rest of my palm on it. It's not writing on it. So, so if you'd like to try it
Sure.
out here.
So is this a, I don't really want to break it.
That's okay. Just
I know a good
case
tech
it.
person, I guess. Oh, look, it's. So is so will we then move this down to pilot, like at Explorer and Discovery?
So at
Okay.
Explorer, for the new edition, we're actually planning on putting these in there. So that is the game plan for the new setup, new technology in Explorer. Discovery, they are very much in the camp of, we want to still have an interactive display in the front of the classroom. I think a lot of that boils down to being able to be more, physically communicative with body language and younger. You really have to command the attention. You can't just say, okay, everybody look at the front. Like, you really have to command the attention a little. So for Discovery is going to likely stick with like a more modern smart board setup.
This is
But
cool.
for Explorer and above, that's the long-term goal is to.
It's like, I'll
No
take it
worries.
from you right now.
So if anybody else has any questions.
So Discovery, I'm sorry, so Discovery wants to stay with is there anyone who might want to try this
Oh, at Discovery?
at Discovery?
I think there would be some, but then we might be kind of inviting people that, like, okay, to have to cross-manage all of the different, like, I want this, but I want
Right.
that, and things not being standardized. That's the only concern with that. We're kind of opening up the potential for things to kind of get a little bit more difficult
Yeah.
to manage long-term. Because, somebody's like, oh, I want this, and then they leave the year after, it's like, no, the next person
Right,
doesn't
yeah,
have what
that's
everyone
true.
else has, and so it's kind of a.
So
we're
what, I mean, so right now we're gonna stick with smart boards down there with
Yes.
them.
Correct.
Are the smart boards still working? Are we still getting parts, or are they becoming
We've been
obsolete?
moving
Like, are we
along
been,
as much as we can, but not all of them work. I'm not gonna,
So at some point, we're gonna have to move to something else for
Exactly.
them.
And that's actually on the upgrade timeline. We're planning on doing that, so when the stuff that's happening at Discovery is happening, I plan, we're gonna go ahead and replace the interactive panels that year. So it's gonna be in tandem with the bond work that's set. I believe it's 2027, I have to check the timeline, but.
Right.
Next summer,
Yeah.
summer after this one.
Do these charge via USB-C or is it a proprietary cable?
Through the docking station. So it does come with a proprietary cable that you can use, and we keep those so teachers, they can take it home, that sort of thing, or
Right.
boot up meetings. But yeah, there is kind of, it's like a magnetic.
Yeah, I was just wondering if they could do supplemental charging like in the back of the room or something like that when they're moving
Yeah, like
around.
They can.
extension?
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good.
Like, I was just thinking an extension cord. Can you not plug it into an extension cord and just,
Myself.
You could. And then if we're consolidating devices, is that potentially gonna save us money with licensing?
It's kind of, it's a little bit of just a wash for the most part. So, I was actually surprised when I sat down and did the math on this. I was thinking like, okay, if we're gonna go from 3 to 1, like, that's
Right.
definitely gonna be cheaper. But the thing is, we did like very entry level models for each of the 3 devices. And then, so we have, this is, because it's a small form factor, and we wanted to keep the same performance, you kind of pay a premium for that small
Makes sense.
form factor. And then also the wireless receiver is so
Spendy.
it's technically 2 devices, but it's one's just kind of there and it's gonna last for a really long time.
Okay.
So, yeah.
For me, this is really a big thing because I've been fascinated with the concept of a flexible instructional environment ever since I've been started teaching. In fact, we wrote a grant to the Schools Foundation, I think in 2006 or 7 or something, for like the response clickers, where you could give students a question and project it on the smart board, and then they would respond by pushing a clicker, and you would get instant feedback. And at the time, that was like cutting edge, right? But then even going to Spain and working with my boss there, he was fascinated by this as well. And so we got to do all these trips to Apple and to Steelcase and how these classrooms are being developed. And so I've been trying to bring that concept back to Williamston in our secondary classrooms in particular, where there is no point of instruction anymore, where the teacher can be completely mobile and interface with all their students in real time from any point in the classroom, but still provide those materials in real time to all the students to be able to see and interact with. And so, as James mentioned, we've gone through several iterations of that, but the standardization of flexible seating furniture in all the secondary classrooms, combined with the new projectors and screens we put in last year, and now adding this, kind of completes the entire package. And so this really should promote just a new era in terms of what teachers are able to do in their classrooms by having the freedom to rearrange their classrooms and really customize the instructional process to the technology in a way that best meets the goals of the lesson that they're instructing.
so is the idea to make sure every teacher has one, even teachers that do not want one?
So
Or
we're
are
gonna,
we giving them an option?
we wanna standardize it at the secondary level. So, and then also at the new edition for Explorer. So we'd like for it all to be the same.
Same,
Yes.
good idea.
All right, so, any further questions? So, I do have a formal recommendation to purchase 50 new interactive classroom upgrades, so we can go ahead and roll it out to the rest of the secondary level. The total dollar amount is $121,700. The devices will be acquired through the statewide purchasing program, REMC, and so CDWG is the vendor for the equipment, and the budget we're gonna use for it is the 2025-26 sinking fund. So,
Nice.
all right, and that's,
Any other questions? All right, well, very cool, very exciting. This will be on for next meeting, which is the 16th, so get your questions. With James probably, because none of us understand. Well, yeah, Dave probably too, so. Thanks. We appreciate your thoroughness, James,
Okay.
as always, thank you.
awesome, thank you.
Just a question for Adam.
Yeah.
Are teachers evaluated in their use of technology? Is that part of their evaluation or?
It's I think it actually is, and there's if I'm remembering correctly, I know for sure the principals are, because obviously doing that more often than they utilize the teachers, but I think there's one in the teachers. in the Danielson rubric, but I know there is for sure in the Ed Advance for the principals. And so that's always kind of an interesting one to look at, you know, on how much do I actually sit there and watch the principals use technology, I don't know. But I think the bigger picture is moving forward, principals in the classroom helping guide teachers to be able to to maximize the utilization of these new resources. I think that'll be important more so than whether the principal knows how to use the device themselves, although obviously everyone will know how to do that. So, student engagement is 100% part of that, and this is a way you can engage your students. Obviously not the only way, but it's a good resource.
All right, next up is Sarah to talk all things finance, starting with the budget amendment for 2026-27.
I know I won't be as patient as James was with this thing.
You can just
So-
nod and I'll go forward.
Okay. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so today I'm presenting to you our amended budget for 25-26. As you all know, our original budget is based on our best guess at that time, and our budget for the state wasn't released until October, so some pretty significant adjustments this year. For revenues, we have an increase of almost 600,000. Expenditures, an increase of about 160,000. And you'll see I did also throw in there a contingency of 100,000 just as a little extra cushion. But we're expected to pull about $460,000 from fund balance. Next slide, please. So for our revenues, we originally budgeted 10,000 flat for our per pupil allocation. That was 10,050, so adding that back in. Our 51C special ed funding for 25-26 increased about 250,000. We also had a 51C special ed adjustment from 24-25 of 230,000. Our at-risk increased 56,000. 27L educator compensation is not a new line item, but it's different this year, and it's on our agenda to discuss next. But that was an addition of 273,000. MIPSR's adjustments, that was a net decrease of 400,000. And then we had some other miscellaneous adjustments towards the bottom. One of those being our title funding decreased 65,000. Next slide, please. Our expenses, as you know, back in December, we approved the 80-20 health coverage, where the district is now covering 80% of our employee health costs. So that's in addition to our budget of $220,000. This next line was a mistake I had left in from the previous year. It was a funding source that should have been removed of $181,000. 27L was educator compensation. Again, we had the revenue, so this is the expense to match it. And then other miscellaneous net expenditure adjustments, a decrease of $153,000. Next slide, please. The important slide, we expect to pull, like I said, $463,000 from fund balance. That means we're going to have a decrease from 27% to 24.5%. As always, I do expect this to still be conservative, but in a better shape than we anticipated at the start of the school year. So.
One point here from finance is that, just as a reminder, as a board, we had talked in the past about trying to keep our fund balance at about 18%, which puts us in alignment with what we need to be able to cover our expenses at the beginning of the year until we get funding. So where we're at right now versus where we do still anticipate that there will be a drawdown. That's been something we've talked about in the past, but it's just so you know that from the front end.
Yes, and you can see our trend. We're going to start going down just like we expected.
And that brings up a question that we had in finance, and maybe Adam can speak to this a little bit more, but do we anticipate that trend to continue for the next couple of years?
Well, so the biggest variable and the thing we don't have any control over is what are we going to receive from the state? And that has the biggest impact on what happens with this number. Not only in terms of per pupil funding, but also the categorical funds that might impact the total budget. Obviously, we've had, many discussions about 31, the famous or infamous, depending on how you look at it, 31AA this year. I mean, there's lots of those categoricals. So I think that's going to be a usually significant piece of this, but we're also gonna have to keep a close eye on our expenditures and staffing. And so, that's gonna be just a year-to-year piece in conjunction with the state aid, budget, and, we might get to the point where we're gonna have to start to make some choices to stabilize. So, I mean, 18 is kind of the floor. We don't necessarily wanna, you know, it depends on how much you wanna gamble, with how close to the line you wanna go. But once you spend your savings account, you know, just like your personal finances, it's hard to put the money back in, or you gotta figure out a way to do that, and we don't wanna end up back where we were. So, we're okay, but we'll have to continue to monitor this, moving forward.
The next slide's just questions, so we're good, thank you. Any other questions?
Nicely done.
Thank you. All right. I'll just stay up here for the next two. Yeah, I don't have a presentation or anything, but like you saw in there, we had the 27L educator compensation that was funding of about $274,000. It's not, like I said, it's not a new state categorical, but they did change the way we're required to use those funds this year. The two main requirements were that it had to be distributed out to staff rather than just offsetting our internal expenses. So we have to push those funds out, and then we also had to sit down and negotiate them with all of our associations. One nice thing about this funding is that it allowed for the employer-paid retirement and FICA to be pulled from that $274,000. There are some other ones where, like this is the base stipend amount, but then you have to find the funding elsewhere in your budget to cover those other pieces of it. So all of this came from this one chunk, which was really nice. What we decided to do, and similar to our other bonuses we've done in the past, is that if the full dollar amount would be offered to our full-time staff, and then 30 hours would be our cutoff, so anyone that worked below 30 hours would get a half of that stipend. So what that resulted in is all of our full-time staff will be getting a $941.90 bonus, so to speak. That'll be going to 215 of our staff, and then a stipend of $470.95 will be paid to 11 of our part-time staff. To meet the negotiation requirement, we prepared LOAs, we sat down and met with all the associations, and they have signed and agreed to all of the terms written within. And then pending your approval, at our March 16th meeting, the district funds will go out to these funds will be distributed to district staff on March 20th. So, any questions on these funds? It's kind of a nice surprise all around. So. Okay, cool. Third item. Also no presentation. So this one is the Title III relinquish of funding. So we sat down, Adam, I, and Dr. Cook, and discussed that the requirements of this grant are too significant given the dollar amount available. The funding for this grant, Title III, was $595. However, normally we would just move along. However, this specific grant does require that we have board approval to relinquish the funds. So that's what we're doing today. $595. Any questions? Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Like Sarah said, this will be on all the finance stuff will be on the agenda at the next meeting.
I have a question. I don't know if it's for Sarah, but on one of these sheets, it talked about the rental income from the house that we have.
Yes.
Which then that house is gonna be torn down. Are we thinking about paying that more? There was conversation when we first agreed to buy the house that when we were doing building, that we might be able to pay off that house with bond money. Is that something we're thinking about doing, or will we continue just to pay the mortgage and?
Well, yes, so I did reach out to the bank just a couple weeks ago about that, and they confirmed it's not a mortgage, it's just a straight loan. Because I did ask, like, once that house is gone, where's the collateral?
Right.
And they actually kind of laughed at me, like, we don't use government buildings as collateral, and I was like, oh, okay. So apparently they don't do that. So they said we just continue with the terms of the loan, and given the state of our funding for the bond, which is going to be underfunded, I don't know that it's a good idea to use those funding,
But we can just continue to pay it off until we're done.
Until the term is complete.
The difference obviously being we won't have a tenant Up until this point,
Or a
for the
house.
most part, the payment, or a house, which makes sense, right? But for the most, well, up until this point, it's really been, for the most part, paid by the tenant.
Right.
And also for the next 4 years, the last 4 years of the loan, we'll just pay it.
We'll
But
just pay it off.
as you all know, we wanted the property, not the house. So it's actually worked out really well that 6 of the 10 years we owned it, or 6 of the 10 years we had to pay on it.
And when does
We had a
the
tenant.
tenant, I mean, can the tenant stay in the house until,
Through June,
We're
when
gonna-
the current lease expires at the end of June, and then that'll be it.
and then they'll,
Yeah, if we weren't gonna pay it outright, then we would go to the city and ask for an adjustment, right? Because we would just be paying the land. Right?
I don't think they wipe away the loan. Is that what?
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
and it's,
Is that what you were asking?
there was a
No,
lot
I'm
going
thinking
on.
the taxes.
There was a lot
Oh,
going on at the
taxes.
time, right? Oh, I don't know about the tax piece.
How would, that's a good question.
I think we can ask
they'd
them
probably
for
do
an assessment,
Because
Because they
now we
did-
don't have a structure there, and we won't have a structure there, so.
Correct, and it seems like they must do an assessment every 3 years or so.
I think you can
Um,
ask for one.
Yeah.
Okay, because we did recently start getting billed for that.
Right.
So,
Something to think about.
yeah, so someone's looking, and I can reach out and try to get that cleared up in advance, so.
Great.
Good question.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Next thing is Mousetrap by Agatha Christie for the WHS Theater Production Class Proposal. Have they done this before?
No,
Not that I recall.
not since I've been in the district.
Yes, Betsy, you do recall it. Okay.
When I was in
Oh, well, then I would have remembered that.
Just a couple years ago, was it?
Yeah, yeah, just a few years ago. Any questions about that?
This is really funny because this show was actually on TV, like, like my mom was watching it.
Okay.
Yeah. Kinda
Don't tell
funny.
me, I haven't seen this one, so. And I like Agatha Christie, so it'll be good.
It was cute.
All right, that'll be on the agenda for next meeting as well. And then we have a leave request. If you have any questions about this, please get with Adam, because this is a staffing, concern, or not concern, but item.
Do we, I don't, do we have a, I mean, I know we're short on subs for this. Do we have, are you gonna be driving that bus for him?
Where's Pam?
Well, I got
Okay.
fired both times I tried to drive a military vehicle, a large military vehicle, so I don't think that's gonna be in my future,
Well,
but,
that's impressive.
yeah.
I don't know you to fail anything. Wow.
I drove over a bunch of pallets in the first 5 minutes. and
On purpose?
I was, no,
No, definitely not.
I was relieved of duty by my NCOs pretty quick. It is something that we're continuing to work on. In fact, just today, we published on like all the different education job sites, like updated postings for regular and substitute drivers. So we saw a couple of other districts that did that, and quite frankly, I think our offer is much more competitive than theirs. So we wanted them to be, in case anybody else was looking, we wanted them to see
Right,
ours in
yeah.
conjunction with those.
Nice.
So that all went out actually just earlier today, and we'll continue to work on it. I think just as the board knows, the onboarding to license a new driver it's not a quick thing. It takes months and months and
Yeah.
months, so it's
Didn't
a
you
challenge.
update us not too long ago that somebody was coming out of their driving school or testing?
Yeah, we do have a driver that's in the pipeline, but hasn't yet fully completed their licensure, but that'll certainly help when that happens.
Right, next is material testing services recommendation.
So we've seen this earlier in the bond cycle where it's required to have a third party that's providing oversight in terms of assessing the quality and the types of materials that are being utilized for the bonds. So this is very similar to that in terms of having a third party and looking at materials. You can see examples of exactly what types of things they'd be looking at in the context of the bid documents that follow the cover memo. There is an additional one of these for, I think it's like environmental hygienist or something along those lines, which is essentially looking for asbestos being present in the structures that are either getting built or not being built. The structures that are being renovated, to include the 2 houses that we anticipate demoing as part of the Explorer project. That was below the bid threshold though, so we approved that internally, but just so you know, there's a similar third-party involvement with these projects that is also going on specific to asbestos. But this one is encapsulating most of the other things, the types of materials, soil, et cetera, that'll be part of the bond work.
Any questions? Moving into action items, may I please have a motion for approval of the minutes from the regular
Make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education approve the minutes for the regular meeting held on February 2nd, 2026 as presented.
Second.
Motion is made by Chris, second by Deb. Any discussion? Sorry, words were not coming out, so thank you, Chris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is a roll call item. Can I get a motion for approved contract for Williamston Food Service Association?
Move that the Williamston Community Schools Board of Education approve the contract with the Williamston Food Service Association.
Second?
Motion by Dave, second by Chris. Any discussion? Deb, can you please take us through roll call?
Sure. Chris?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes?
Deb? Yes. Dave?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
You forgot
You
Nancy.
forgot Nancy.
Nancy?
Yes,
I knew there was one more. Okay.
that's okay.
Thank you. Motion carries. Separate action items. Can I get a motion for approval of board policies to add, revise, rewrite, remove? First, starting with add.
Make a motion that the Williamston Community Schools Board of Education approve these new board policies, 7375, acceptable use of generative AI, 9360, fundraising activities, and 9730F, booster clubs, PTOs, and other sport groups.
Second.
Motion by Chris, second by Dave. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? May I please get a motion for approval of board policies to revise?
Move that the Williamston Community Schools Board of Education approve the revision of policies 2020-2, WCS Organization Chart, 7350, Curriculum Adoption and Instructional Resources, 8041, Dual Enrollment and Credit, and 9170, Retailing on School Property.
Second?
Motion by Dave, second by Chris. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get approval for board policies to rewrite?
Make a motion that the Williamston Community Schools Board of Education rewrite the following policies: 8300, corporal punishment and limited use of reasonable force, 8300R, corporal punishment and limited use of reasonable force, and 9730, booster club, PTOs, and other sport groups.
Second.
Motion by Chris, second by Deb. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get approval for board policies to remove?
I make a motion that the Williamston Community Schools Board of Education remove policy 9730R, relationship with organization data collection.
Second.
Motion by Deb, second by Dave. Any discussion?
That's why I don't try to.
All those in favor?
It always works.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is closed session for personnel issue, and this is a roll call item. Deb, can you please take us through, or I'm sorry, can I please have a motion to go into closed session?
I make a motion that
That was
Williamston,
your chance. Go ahead, Nancy.
I make a motion that the Williamston Community School Board of Education move into closed session to discuss a personnel
Second.
matter.
Motion by Nancy, second by Deb. Now, please take us through roll call. Deb?
Chris?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Deb? Yes. Nancy?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We will move into closed session and we will return to close out our meeting. Okay, thank you, everyone. Can I please get a motion to come out of closed session?
I make a motion to come out of closed session.
Second.
First by Amanda, second by Dave. Please take us through roll call, Deb.
Sure. Chris?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Deb, yes. Nancy?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Please review your board goals. We did have one correspondence.
We don't usually talk on resignations, but I'm going to make an exception if that's okay. I do want to make sure that publicly acknowledge and thank Dr. Cook for her service to the district. Michelle's been an incredibly dedicated and member of our team and has a truly impressive work ethic. And we have spent how many hours, it's hard to count, together trying to problem solve things, discussing things. When you're dealing with special education, often venting about things in terms of the bureaucracy. But she has been just an invaluable member of our team, and I am greatly appreciative of her years of service and her leadership. So leave it at that, but I do just want to make sure that that gets recognized. I know I don't typically do that for a resignation.
Definitely wish her good luck in her next adventure.
Yeah, wish her all the best.
Yes, absolutely. I do not see any citizens in the audience. So we move on to board member reports and requests. Anything?
I just appreciate getting this. I was gonna ask.
Yeah,
So it's nice to get this already ahead of time. I do want to note that the ice cream social, May 21st,
okay.
on there. So we'll have to,
Yes, remind me at the next board meeting on the 16th, we can discuss our
Do we get a different game
involvement.
this year?
I don't know, she just sent, she sent the board just what was it, like, here's the date, like, what would that, like,
Just
save
a
the date,
flyer,
kind of
yeah.
a save the date kind of thing, so I don't know if we can, if we should reach out to her and ask for a different game, but it's hard, this is a massive production and they do so much work. It is kind of hard because I feel like like all the school things are like stuck in a corner. I mean, we're in the Explorer Gym, so we don't get as many people coming by, and for a while you're like, so it does seem like you're a little like, I would like, even though I'd like them to mix it a little, like community games and school game, like mix us, but it's really like all the school stuff, all of it is in the Explorer Gym, and it just seems like we're,
And this is much later than before.
it does seem later,
It's
yeah.
gonna be hot.
Yeah, it's right before
Oh, yeah.
Memorial Weekend, I think,
Yeah,
or
I
right
got a
around
feeling
there,
it's
so
gonna be really.
it does seem like
Well,
we're kind of like the
We're
bad
kinda
kids and
teetering
like.
on a discussion on this, so maybe we can have
just
it as a
unpopular.
discussion item at the next meeting. Because, and maybe it's just, hey, board members, like, here's what we're doing, and maybe we don't have a game to do.
Or we just go and.
And maybe we just go and support, or we just
Visit.
donate a basket, like we've done in the past, if they're doing baskets this year. So, I'll reach out to, the president or whoever is doing the event.
Yeah,
And
whoever it is.
we can get some information. Betsy, I'd like to put this on for the next meeting as a discussion item. Anything else? Yes, Amanda?
Yes. I guess I don't know if this is gonna be a request, because I'm not exactly sure of the timing, but I would like to know if when our website was revamped, redone, if that was planned in meeting the new ADA rules for accessibility.
When what was done?
Pardon?
Say, when what was done?
The website, our
The
website.
Yeah, because federal rules
Because-
go in place as
yeah.
of April 1.
Correct.
So,
April 24th.
or April 24th, that's right.
But for community our size, it'll be April 24th, 2027.
Okay,
Well, no, because it's just a school.
it's a school.
anyway,
We'll look into it, yeah.
yeah, there are really, the requirements are, it's all good. We certainly want things to be accessible, but it's a great deal of work, and I don't know if when we redeveloped the website, if we knew about those rules from DOJ. Thank you.
Anything else? Great, good luck at conferences for teachers. I know that's coming up in the next couple weeks. Winter sports is still going on. We still
Still
have
going.
some teams and individuals competing. I just saw something about gymnastics going on. That's a co-op with Hazlitt.
Yeah. Swimming's still going on, girls' basketball playoffs start
Oh, that's
Wednesday.
right, they start it next week. And then, of course, spring is just, sports are right around the corner and events and.
Where do the girls play?
We play home on Wednesday, we're hosting districts. I think it's at 7, but you might want to confirm it.
Okay.
I think their game's at 7 on Wednesday.
All right, with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
First by Amanda, second by Deb. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed?